North America, pronounced Corda.
No, it's wild. It's just real.
And then they wonder why everything's so expensive.
Okay, good. Okay. Okay, Council, if you don't mind, we'll just get started. Just want to introduce today, just before we get into capital budget, just want to, I'm sure after a busy day yesterday, you might have went home and said, oh yeah, or this is a concern, or here's something else. I just want to check in, kind of quick debrief of yesterday, if there's any comments, concerns, process, or anything of concern of council members, certainly welcome that feedback.
I had one in regards to the mailing of the bills that we had discussed about giving notice, and I wonder if it would be possible to give 6 months notice, and so it would impact some of this coming 2026 budget. So on July 1st, you know, for the last 6 months, that's when we make the shift. So you would give 6 months notice from now, and then make the shift. I don't know if that's possible, but it would save half of what's in that budget in the current budget year.
So let's look at the director just in response to the question, what would be required?
Yeah, so if council decided that that is the way we wanted to go, and we updated the rates and fees bylaw, we would begin immediately communication with the public. A 6-month notification would be sufficient in this. However, it likely isn't going to impact the tax base. It's only going to impact those utility accounts likely are netting down to zero, but definitely it can be a way that we can put more investment into those reserves, yes.
So to the question, Councillor Russell, is that something you want to explore immediately, or does council need some detail of process and bylaw? Just kind of demonstrate what that looks like prior to moving into that decision?
I'll leave that to Mayor Barclay and the rest of the council, but it's something I'd like to pursue. It is savings, right? And 6 months, I think, is more than sufficient notice to do it. So
I would like more detail myself. I think we want to be careful. I think of the demographics of this community, and there are people that would be very resistant to that, and yeah, I don't think the amount is huge. And you know, we can maybe have a campaign to continue to have people receive e-bills, but there's going to be an element of our population that will not be able to, they won't be able to do it. Like, it's not that they can't, they won't be able to. So I just like to take a look at that, and maybe if we had a, you know, we can talk about it in a council meeting, but maybe if we had a, you know, a strategic campaign to really push that we could look at it 6 months from now, and gee, we've gone from 2,000 accounts down to 1,500 accounts, and maybe there's progress being made, and set some targets, and I don't know. I get it, and I do understand it. I just think that it's, I don't know, maybe affecting people that don't have choice.
Mayor Barclay? And I'm not suggesting we don't still have the option for those that don't have a choice. It's just that they would have a fee associated with it, right? Well.
Thanks, Your Worship. Yeah, to Council, I would agree with Councillor Russell. I think we can get the data, but we'll give, I believe, giving the community enough time to do this switch. Let's do it. I think that's, you know, there's a lot going on, and I think a lot of people, you know, do e-billing and stuff like that. And if our residents that are may need some help, our staff have been great. You know, I've seen them coming into the office and communicating with our citizens. So I'm okay with giving enough notice and doing this change. Thanks.
Yeah, I kind of sit in the middle because I appreciate both perspectives on it. So yes, I would like more information, but if we can do it on a shorter time frame, for sure, I think that's important. I think lots of people just don't even honestly consider the costs associated. They don't consider what the reality is. I think we need to stand up and at least tell people that they have options, and what, you know, how they can, I don't know, is there a campaign that you can talk about how individuals can impact the savings on the budgets. I don't know whether people would even care or if that would be well received, but I think it's something absolutely worth exploring and discussing.
I guess when we get into capital here, Director Vickers, like I see an amount for updating like new finance system, and so speaking of this, another thing that we can look at is, we are still writing checks and sending checks out via mail, and I don't know how many checks I would sign every week, maybe 30, 40, 50 sometimes. So that is part of the process too, and
Mayor Barkley, we are going to be undertaking
Okay.
that change early in the new year and moving to allowing
Okay.
businesses
Yeah.
and people to be paid by EFTs.
Okay.
So based on the conversation council's having, we could do an administrative report, just providing some of the data, the accounts, the numbers, potential savings, and then get formal direction from council based on that information.
Yeah, and I guess I'll just talk about experience in the banking industry. Big push back in the day to get people using ATMs and online banking, and it took a lot of work, and the changeover came, and now a lot of people, you would never go back. But, there's also a fee onto sending out bank statements, or people want to print out a bank statement. It's a fee, and was not popular, without question. And but that education process was so important, but there will be people that do not have email, and I don't know how many of residents would be like that, but we'll have to remember that there are people that do not have that choice.
Okay, councilor, is there anything else before we get into capital?
I have one comment or request, I guess, or question, first of all, and it's going back to FCSS. And my question is, are we due to review any kinds of policy relative to FCSS or process? We're going to be doing the committee review. I guess my question lies in, we've had conversation over the last 2 budgets around either changing the name of this costing center from FCSS to social planning, or having 2 separate, having a social planning budget and having an FCSS budget. And the reason I keep bringing it up, and even more so this year after hearing the minister speak in the Bear Pit at Alberta Munis, I think that the more information we have about how much we're actually spending on FCSS is important for us as we advocate for increases from government. And so when I look at this sheet, I can see, I see that the programs that we run. I see that the town is investing a lot more money in these kinds of programs than what the province is, and than what we're required to at 20%. So I don't know whether it bears just a different explanation around how it all works from a breakdown of the costing center, or whether it's worth having that conversation now to say we are actually investing enough as a municipality in the social environment in our community that calling it what it is and then being able to explain how it all works would be important. So just a thought.
Okay, again, this is not ending any conversation regarding the operational side, but we'll put it over to the director to start the capital budget.
Perfect. Okay, thank you, Mayor and Council. So this morning, we'll be going over the capital budget. So this morning, I did print off our 10-year capital plan updated for this discussion today, just so that we can put it in our binders. And then the first page under kind of the capital tab is just kind of an overall summary of just the financial data and the names of all the different projects. And then we'll get into each individual sheet as we go through. So the first project we have before council for consideration is a phone system changeover. So currently our phone system is coordinated by a company called NEC. And recently, they are our on-premise phone system. They formally announced the discontinuation of all of their communication products outside of Japan. So this includes the end of system sales, hardware availability, the licensing, software assurance, which is around the security, and technical support as well. All support and maintenance will end up ceasing by March 31st of 2030, with major restrictions already happening now at the end of 2025. So as components begin to age and fail through our system, replacement parts and licensing is no longer going to be available, and this will create some operational risks for the town. So the existing system will become increasingly difficult to maintain, limiting the town's ability to repair or support critical communication infrastructure. And as support phases out, even routine issues such as even just headset failures, voicemail disruptions, or any other types of errors may become unresolvable. So this does create a growing risk for service outages across all of our multiple facilities. So we do need reliable phone service for essential for all of our departments, and especially for our frontline operations staff. We have already kind of started to see this. The company, as this announcement came out, some of their employees are now starting to move to other operations as they find other locations. So this project proposes a full replacement of our corporate phone system across all municipal facilities. We will be issuing a formal request for tender for proposal to determine the required service levels. We'll be doing a focus on linking our buildings together so that we're more a connected facility with ease of access for residents to gain access to other staff, including linking certain cell phones potentially to the phone system. So we will be looking to start this process early next year, and then hopefully have it completed between 2026 and 2027. Currently, the cost is estimated to be around $250,000. Once we get in talks with individual companies, we'll be bringing those options back to council for formal approval just due to the cost. And this is to be funded out of the general cap reserve.
Director Vickers, you'll probably hear a little bit of a theme from me today as we go through capital, but I'm curious, when you look into this, are there systems, or will you be looking into potentially like leasing systems or buying them outright so we don't get into this situation, just the way technology changes so quickly anymore, trying to update and have new equipment as
Absolutely,
needed?
Mayor Barkley, just
Okay.
even in one example, we're looking, some of the options is we don't buy any of the capital equipment. We're just renting it by month, right? And we just pay a monthly fee. And it might be just a little bit larger than someone else's monthly fee, but we didn't have to spend too. So we'll be looking at all options and bringing those back to council for approval.
Yeah. Okay, great, thank you. Councillor Russell?
Mayor Barkley, I'm just curious, and I don't want to get into the administrative side, the type of phone system and how you do that, that's an administrative decision. But I'm just curious if their current system is VoIP and if you're looking at a voice over IP system for...
So just in talks with our current IT provider, that almost all phones now are going to be over the internet anyway. So they'll all be basically VoIP, yeah. Okay, if there's no other questions, we'll move on. So we got the phone system notification, and then literally about a few weeks later, we also got the same notification from Microsoft. Microsoft has confirmed that support for Dynamics GP, which is our underlying finance software, will end on September 30th, 2029. That includes all product enhancements, regulatory and tax updates, which is around payroll tax updates, and technical assistance. After that date, the system will no longer receive any required updates to remain compliant with any provincial or federal legislations, or even audit standards, or our own evolving financial reporting requirements. And then further that, security updates will only be provided until April 30th, 2031, at which time the platform will become fully unsupported. So the town relies on Dynamics GP for core financial operations, such as accounts payable, accounts receivable, taxes, and utilities. As support phases out, the town will face increasing risks related to system reliability, data security, and legislative compliance. Without ongoing updates, routine processes such as our year-end reporting and tax table changes and payroll integrations will become very difficult to maintain. And an unsupported system also increases cybersecurity vulnerabilities and limits the town's ability to correct system issues or adapt to new reporting requirements. So we are looking to do a full system changeover. So we're kind of in the planning stages right now, talking to a bunch of different finance providers, having a few demos, kind of trying to figure out which system is going to be right for the town. The only kind of risk there is that there's about 300 municipalities in Alberta that is also trying to go through this exact same change. So it has been increasingly hard to even get meetings with some of these groups just because they're so busy. So we're really exploring all of our opportunities. But we do need to start planning now, just due to the timing and the kind of limited potential availability out there. We need to start now and get moving on this because we are on a ticking clock for this, so.
Is there any discussions that, or have you tried to have discussions with Alberta municipalities? It seems like something that, they may get involved in somehow and have that service provider that.
Mayor Barkley, I haven't had any of those conversations with ABBNEs yet. It could be something that I could reach out to kind of a contact and see. I don't believe they have those services as of yet, outside of maybe just some recommendations or where to go. But definitely we can reach out and have a conversation with someone.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's out of their wheelhouse or whatever.
I'd say it's a little deep in your respective operations. It's really intimate to the grassroots level. So, but certainly a conversation could be had.
Yeah, no, just think of like electricity rates that they secure and investment rates and stuff, so.
We are a member of GFOA, which is the Government Finance Officers Association, so they're playing a big, heavy role in this procedure. So they're kind of coordinating quarterly meetings and bringing municipalities in just to kind of hear what the status is and what's going on and kind of who's out there and who to recommend, right? Because it is, everyone's kind of sitting in the same, I shouldn't say everyone, there's some that aren't, but quite a few municipalities across Alberta are kind of in the same boat, so.
Because when did we update last?
It's 2019.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty recent and, yeah, okay.
Yeah, we're not very pleased with this whole process, yeah. So, and the budget for this is going to be sitting at 400,000. Obviously, we need to drill down in. A chunk of this is the actual transition cost, so it's not even the fees for the transition, but the actual fees for them to kind of come in. We'll be given an empty program, and we will have to build it from scratch under their guidance. So it will be quite expensive. And there likely will be some time of double entry that we'll have to mimic both books for a period of a couple months to make sure everything is flowing correctly, and that will likely be from the auditors as well. And the final year that this is done, we will have an additional audit on the transition itself. So there'll be an additional cost in our audit that they'll have to make sure that every code that went here to here on this side is flowing the same way on this side, so they do have to audit that as well. But that likely will happen. We're hoping in 2027 we'll be finished, but timing will be how it is, so. Okay, any other questions on that? If not, we'll move on. So we do have some electronic traffic signs. So we are looking to purchase some more traffic signs for the 2026 capital year. We currently have 2 static signs on Highway 2A coming onto the town. South direction, which is currently broken and beyond economical repair. The other is posted on Lakewood Drive coming into town as well. These traffic signs are used to collect data, speed, traffic volume, average speed. They are to be in stealth mode, so that means that sometimes they don't actually show the numbers on there, but they're actually still recording that data and that information. As well, sometimes they also have the times where the speed is actually indicated, and if you're over the speed limit, it'll actually start flashing and get kind of angry at you, right? In addition, we also have 2 mobile units which are used to provide data in target areas. So those are the ones that on those little carts that we do tend to move around. And so that's how we do it. If there's an area where high speeds are being reported, then we'll kind of do some targeted in there. The 2 of these signs will be used in high traffic areas entering our community. And these will be about $12,000 for the cost. And then we do have a picture of kind of, that's what the mobile ones kind of look like. Okay. Okay, so we'll move on. So the next one is we do need to do an update to our SCBA, which is a self-contained breathing apparatus, and this is used by our fire department. And the SCBA is essential respiratory personnel protective equipment for firefighters. Our current SCBA is timed out as per manufacturers and NFPA standards and expire in 2026. Associated with the SCBA are rapid intervention packs, or RITs, to provide additional breathing air as if a firefighter is injured and unable to evacuate a hazard area. Innisfil Fire Department does require 14 SCBA units and 2 RIT packs, 20 cylinders, and 50 face masks. Red Deer County is doing a contribution to this purchase, and their contribution is 6 SCBAs and 1 RIT. And the intent for this program is to purchase with Red Deer County to achieve a cost recovery associated with the larger increased volume purchase. And so the cost for this is going to be $175,000, but unfortunately, because they are expiring in 2026, it is a mandatory requirement. Okay, any questions, or we'll move on? Okay, so the next, we're going to move into operations and roads. So the next project is 48 infrastructure replacement, but phase 1. So the 48th infrastructure replacement project will be broken out into 4 different phases. The total project limits are from 40th Street to 46th Street. The existing 200 millimeter ductile iron water main has had multiple breaks along this section over the last 5 years. The last inspection did show significant pitting along the bottom of the pipe. A portion of the 200 millimeter VCT sanitary main was lined in 2021. So phase 1 will be from 40th Street to 41st Street, and the design includes replacement of the water main and services to property line, lining of the sanitary main and services to the property line, selective replacement of sidewalk portions, replaced with millings for 1 year. So the design and tendering will be completed in spring of 2026, with construction during the summer of 2026. So the cost for this project is $888,000, with $80,000 being the engineering and design portion, and $808,000 for the construction. We are using a reserve and a grant funding to kind of cover the cost of this. Part of it, we do have some expiring MSI money that we need to clean up and pay for. So $421,000 of that is going to come from our MSI, and the balance from reserves. Behind that, there is a map of kind of where that location is, so that you guys can see the location of the map. Okay. We'll move on to the next capital project, and that is our 2026 surface improvement slides. So you will note that we tend to have a surface improvements project kind of every year. And so this is this. It has been separated into 6 different sections for the 2026 year. And these are the areas that have been identified as the highest priority based on the last kind of road assessments that we've done. So the first section is a road rebuild on 57th Avenue from 47th Street to 37th Street, and 37th Street from 56th to 57th Avenue. So this does include the milling, replacement and new sections of curb, road restructuring and paving, and the estimated cost from this is $700,000. This was originally part of our 2025 surface improvement project, but just due to the increased capacity and the aquatic center project, we did kind of pause that and kind of push this into this year. The second project is a road rebuild on 48th Street from 47th Ave to 46th Ave. So this is new sections of curb and sidewalk, road restructuring and paving, and this cost is $200,000, also carried over from 2025. So the third project is a road rebuild on 43rd Ave from 50th Street to 49A Street. So again, this is also sections of the curb replacement as well as mill and overlay. The cost of this is $300,000. Paving, the fourth one is paving on 40th Street from 51st Ave to 52nd Ave. This infrastructure was replaced within this section in 2025 with asphalt millings were placed prior to paving. So we do need to remove the millings now, reshape and pave, and that cost is $110,000. The fifth one is a lane rebuild at 36A Street, also including milling, reshaping structure and paving. That cost is $150,000, also carried over from 2025. And then the final project is trail rebuilds in Centennial Park under various locations, and that cost is $75,000. So there is a portion of design and procurement for this, sitting at $122,000 for this project, with a construction of just over $1.4 million, with a total cost of $1,535,000 for this project. We will be taking the entirety of our LGFF funding to cover this project, with then the balance having to come from reserves of $295,000. If you do see, kind of below that or beside that, we do have a map that does show all of the different sections of where these kind of projects are going to be located.
When you send this out for tender, Director Kennedy, what will you send, like it as one project, one through number 5? Or do you send it out in different pieces?
To Mayor, yeah, it'll be one project.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, we'll move on. So the next project is 52nd Avenue microsurfacing. So 52nd Avenue is a high-traffic arterial road that has a significant cracking, and it's nearing its pavement end of life. There are no signs of the base failure, making it a strong candidate for microsurfacing, which will extend the surface life for another 8 to 10 years. The project will be broken out into 2 phases. So phase 1 is from 37th Street to 42nd Street, and phase 2 is from 42nd Street to 50th Street. So the estimated cost for phase 1 for 2026 is $250,000, and we will be using MSI to cover for this project as well. And then those 2 projects should eat up the balance of our MSI funding for the year. And again, we also do have a map showing council where that is located in the town.
Just a quick note on this one. The reason we separated this out from the surface improvements, it is pretty specific contractors that do this one. That's why they don't typically do milling and overlaying, that type of stuff. So that's why we separated it out, because we will be specific contractors for this.
Yeah, just to Director Kennedy, how thick of a mill, like 50 mils, or what are they, how thick of a overlay would it be, like take out to replace?
It's not an overlay, it's not a mill, so they actually literally just go on top. It's very thin depending on the thickness. It's like maybe a 1/4 inch. It's very thin. It's meant really just to seal and reseal the surface in order to get that extended life.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the next one. So you did hear a little bit about this yesterday, talking about the Dodds Lake when we're talking about monitoring the groundwater in that area. So as it said, we were going to be talking about it today. So here is the project. We are looking to do the Dodds Lake lot remediation work. So in 2022, administration did engage Tagish Engineering to complete a design and cost estimate to remediate the contaminated lot adjacent to the existing Dodds Lake boat launch and parking lot and expand the parking lot. So the preliminary design followed the concept provided in the 2021 Dodds Lake Area Community Recreation Plan, and the estimated cost to complete the work is $300,000. Also in 2022, EnviroWest Engineering was engaged to develop a yearly groundwater monitoring program to be submitted to Alberta Environment each year. This would provide monitoring of the contaminated area. In 2025, the report has shown migration of the contaminant towards Dodds Lakes, warranting the need to progress to the remediation of the site. Administration will research and submit for applicable grants as well to assist with covering the costs. Right now, the current cost is $300,000, with $30,000 being further design work for the project and $270,000 being construction. And as stated, we will look for any other grants that could potentially offset the cost of this. And we'll just reduce the amount that's coming from reserves.
So, Director Kennedy, can you explain this process and?
The end result.
For the remediation?
And
So
kind of what it looks like when it's complete?
when the project's complete, it'll be really an expansion to the parking lot that's there. Right now, it's an elevated hill. We'll be knocking that hill down a little bit. The material, the contaminated material, will actually get farmed out at our yard, back of our yard. So we'll be setting up an area there to farm that material out in order to eliminate some of the costs. The only other option for hauling that waste material would be out by Big Valley, their Class 3 landfill. So we'll be looking to do that at the town yard, and then based on the concept that was here provided, we'll come back to council with a little further update on the detailed design of it, as well as the phasing.
Right, so go back to the Dodds Lake plan that we had done.
Yeah, this is very
years
similar
ago.
to the Dodds Lake plan.
Okay.
This is kind of matches that.
Okay.
We'll bring it forward back to council in regards to the details once we get more detail on.
And does it need to stay open for a year or two, or can it just be remediated this year and then potentially put back together next year?
The intent would be to get the parking lot open by the end of this year.
Okay.
End of 2026. Because what they'll do is they'll take out the material, bring material in,
Okay,
get it regraded, and as per the design, get the parking lot open.
okay, so not hard surface.
Not hard surface.
Okay.
We'll move on. Okay, so the next project is the Centerra lift station replacement. So in 2021, an assessment was completed on all sanitary lift stations to gain an understanding of the conditions and recommended maintenance. The maintenance for that Centerra lift station, which is located at 51st Street and 43rd Ave, includes 4 different recommendations. So the first one is lining the wet well with a spray liner. So this will have a 15 to 20 kind of year life expectancy. We also need to upgrade the electrical and HVAC components to meet current code standards. We also need to upgrade the piping as well as install a backup generator for that lift station. In 2025, administration completed a preliminary design to proceed with the recommended maintenance, and it was determined that life station capacity is also a concern. The lack of capacity in the wet well is putting a high demand on the pumps during high flow periods from West Fine Meats and does create a high risk of flooding. The recommendation is to fully replace the existing lift station and increase the wet well capacity. So the design will include new pumps, electrical, and communications, as well as a permanent backup generator. And the current estimated cost is to be $1.1 million, with $95,000 of that to be design and procurement, and $1,005,000 being construction. We're looking to utilize 100% of our CCBF grant funding for this, and the balance to come from the utility capital maintenance and repair line.
Question maybe through to Director Kennedy. With the generator, with the government grants on going green, have we looked at like either a methanol or hydrogen-based generator rather than a diesel generator as a backup?
Councillor Strong, we have not looked at the options of generators at this time. We're still just in the preliminary stage, but we'll make a note of that.
Okay, so we'll move on to the next item, which is a chipper or mulcher. So the purchase of a larger chipper mulcher, which is for 300 millimeter diameter trees, would be utilized by the Parks as well as the Public Works Department. The primary use would be for tree and branch disposal at the waste transfer site, with mulch made available for the public, for free for the public, as well as department use. We do have a smaller unit, but it doesn't keep up with the volume of disposal at the transfer site. Currently, the budget for tree and branch disposal is approximately $10,000 annually. The budget price for this unit is $80,000, earmarked to come out of the fleet reserve.
Just a quick question. So we'll have 2, or we'll be getting rid of the smaller one?
Will we be maintaining the smaller one for our individual, for where we have tree falling?
Okay, so we'll move on to the next item. And so these are our electronic information signs. So we're looking to purchase 2 of them. Kind of very similar to what you see in the picture there. They would be mobile signs that we would be utilizing for a number of reasons. 1 being snow removal, 2 could be for events or road closures. Even if you remember, we had a tax sign last year. This would be something that we would be able to manage internally for the public and really just kind of help with communication around the town. So budget price for that would be $30,000 for 2, coming out of the fleet reserve.
I'm not a fan, to be honest with you, and I don't know what the rest of council feels, but I don't know, that like we'll still be putting out, I guess, the neighborhood snow removal signs and
Absolutely,
stuff,
Ms.
so.
Barclay. This would be just an additional way to kind of
Yeah,
advertise that.
I don't know, is it needed in this day and age where we have apps and I'm never a fan of the tax sign sitting at the 4-lane corner and I don't know, does it really add that much for $30,000, I guess is just my thought. I'm not a fan of signs like that. Councillor Hill?
Yeah, I just, one of my questions is it identified in any of our, like a safety, would this enhance, have we had like close calls with issues, like our staff being in risk? Is this to mitigate some safety risk as well? Like, obviously, there's a safety component to it and it's needed. That might be a factor that might help influence me a bit, but I don't know if that's the whole intent, if there's a safety aspect to this purchase as well.
I don't,
I can help with that one. Specifically, no. But what it is to help improve the, specifically with our snow removal areas, you know, we ticket individuals that don't park. We do sign a lot. We took this as being another one of those opportunities to help notify public of snow removal in the area, move your vehicles. We also look at it as when we do have events, good way of identifying to traffic that road closures are ahead, and then any other just public information, I guess, is what we took it as, is not related in specific to safety though.
And since I got Mike on here, if you don't mind, Director Kennedy, is there a lifespan for these? Like, I know some of the mobile speed signs have, obviously there's some longevity to them, but is there like a generic kind of idea, like these are going to be good for 10 years, or what would you guys kind of think for life cycle of these electronic signs?
Councillor Hill, I don't know specifically what the manufacturer lifespan is. It really probably comes down to the amount of use that we have for them as well. But yeah.
Thank you.
Your Worship.
Councillor Hystad.
I think when I looked at this, I thought, similar to Councillor Hill, the safety aspect of having the sign. I've seen a number of times where we're doing construction and work, and I think sometimes it's nice to warn. This is how I'm looking at it. It's more on the safety side of things, is giving people the heads up when we have construction. And I'll use 42nd Street. We were dealing with some construction the past summer. There was just a gong show, and I think that if you look at the Harvest Festival and the different events where you have high traffic and parking on the sides, it's nice to slow down traffic. How I was looking at it was on the safety side of things, and I'm curious as to, I know we've talked to Director Kennedy, but if Director Leith feels that this may enhance the safety for our staff and residents, that's how I was looking at this. It's not a massive, it's a cost, but I look at safety as one of those things as a concern when I'm driving, and people don't pay attention at all when they drive. That's, I guess, my question to Director Leith on this one.
Your Worship, through to Councillor Hystad. 100%, I believe this will certainly enhance our ability to keep scenes safe. On a number of occasions each year, at least 2 to 3 occasions where we're closing down overpasses and main arterial roads, this signage would turn around and provide significant assistance in supporting our staff and keeping them safe in those areas.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Mayor Barkley, just from my perspective, just watching the SLT deliberate this budget item, listening to the process for snow removal. There's a lot of engagement from enforcement to citizen with operations. So there's a lot of dollars that goes to helping the citizens get their vehicles off the street so we can properly, safely remove snow. This is another tool, and also it is a tool based on some of the conversations the previous council had on communications. This was identified, hey, if the expectation is more communication, this is identified as a potential tool. So, so yeah, if council doesn't feel it's a tool. Based on communications or benefit, certainly we can have a conversation, but that's the generating the opportunity for this potential investment.
Okay, we'll move on to the next one. So we do have our pickup truck purchase project before you. So as per the municipal fleet policy, the replacement guidelines for light-duty vehicles is 15 years. And this strategy is aimed to reduce maintenance costs and provide higher resale value. So we have two vehicles before you today. So Unit 285 is the Parks Crew Truck. The existing unit is from 2001, and it does have 230,000 kilometers on it. Repairs and maintenance costs on this unit has been approximately $27,000, and we are looking to replace the unit with a 3/4 ton crew cab 4x4 with a tilt box, and the budget price for that is $130,000, but that would be truck and accessories, any lighting and decaling and all that kind of stuff that we need for it. And the second unit that we're looking to replace is our van, our utilities van, so it is Unit 305. The existing van is a 2011 Ford Transit van. It currently has 78,400 kilometers on it. The repairs and maintenance cost for this vehicle has been approximately $9,000, and it will be replaced with a newer standard half-ton quad cab 4x4. And Unit 305 will actually be moved to the facilities department to be used for 1 year. And the budget price for this truck would be $70,000, again including the truck as well as all kind of accessories. So for this project, it is a $200,000 budget. $130,000 is coming from the fleet capital, and $70,000 will be coming from the utility fleet capital project.
Sorry, a question to the Director Kennedy or maybe Director Vickers. The replacement cost I guess, so you're going to resell, does that money just go back into the reserve fund then for the sale, or is that including the sale to 130?
No, so the 130, that is just a standard new purchase cost. And then when it does come time that we send that item for auction, then that money will then go directly back into the fleet reserve. So generally that move happens kind of once a year. We really send our auction items kind of once, typically later summer kind of thing, and then we'll add that in then. Okay.
Yes. So obviously, so just, I don't know, as the service that we need to provide, is it different now? Like the fact that the van just doesn't work for the utilities and a truck is just preferred? Like, cause obviously, you know, I understand 78,000 kilometers and you look at kind of the year and whatever else. And obviously our mechanics are doing their jobs to keep this stuff going, which is great, but is the van was just not really the right fit for the need, or what's the reason to get rid of the van and get a truck, I guess is the question.
Yeah, definitely the need isn't there for, this was used mainly as a water meter van. That need, we're transferring over to facilities so they could use it potentially as more of a facilities, keeping parts and material inside the van. Doing it as a test for them for 1 year. Obviously, they can then decide if it is utilized best for them. Utilities felt it wasn't utilized anymore for them, and a truck would be better utilized. We do suit the trucks with the accessory of having an in-store storage on the box, so enclosed lockable storage. So they just felt our standard quad cabs are a better use for what they're using it for.
More versatile. I could see that for trucks, and yeah, it's just when I looked at this van, it looked like it was purchased with more of a specific use in mind. And if it was the water meters, that makes sense to me, because it obviously doesn't. It's kind of an oddball from the rest of the fleet, and I was just curious as to, because does this even have back seats in it or no? No. So it only has two passenger capability. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so the next item on our list is a front-end loader. So it is considered a heavy-duty vehicle, and the replacement guideline for that vehicle is 20 years or longer, depending on kind of how that maintenance costs is. The strategy is that to reduce maintenance costs and provide a higher resale value for the unit. So the unit we have before you is Unit 22C, which is our front-end loader. The current unit is a 2003 Case Model 621D with 4,500 hours. The unit is primarily used for material loading, grading, and running the snow blower attachment. So repairs and maintenance for this unit has been approximately $62,000, and parts are starting to get harder to find. The unit will be replaced with just an equivalent size or one larger and compatible with existing attachments and snowblower. We do have a budget price for $355,000 coming out of the fleet reserve. Okay, so we'll move on. So the next item is a gravel or plow truck. So again, it is considered a heavy-duty vehicle, so it is also falls under that 20-year or longer, depending on maintenance cost replacement cycle. So the current unit is Unit 55. It's an existing 2001 Freightliner gravel plow truck. It does have 196,000 kilometers on it. It's primarily used to haul dirt, gravel, snow, as well as sand and plow roads. The box and sanding unit was replaced in 2023. As it's only a plow truck. Repairs and maintenance on this unit has been approximately $230,000. That's including the new box and sanding unit attached. So the new unit will be replaced with an equivalent multi-purpose unit, and the budget price for that is $500,000, but that covers the truck and accessories as well, and that is indicated to come out of our fleet reserve.
I guess looking at, without seeing the rest of the inventory of what we have for gravel or plow trucks or, obviously our gravel trucks, to see this would be the oldest piece of equipment as far as gravel trucks go, or where are we at? Because obviously I see multiple units that we have for the town, and I guess just to kind of be able to see if we're knocking off the highest mileage, highest whatever, and replacing new. How many do we have? I guess it's kind of, I'd want to know those kinds of questions prior to, just that context in regards to this purchase.
Yeah, Councillor Hill. So it is one of the oldest units, but it's also a multi-use unit, as stated there. So priority-wise, that's why it's up there on the list, because it's multi-use. We have, in total, we have one tandem truck, we have four tandem trucks in our fleet, and we have one long bed truck as well. We replaced, I think, 2 in the last 5 years. This one, obviously, the priority with this one is because of our winter use for it. That's why it's got brought up. We replaced the box back in 2023. We'll evaluate the use of the box for future before we actually resell this vehicle. But yeah, that's kind of a summary, hopefully.
Yeah, you're thinking just like to pick or choose from it to maybe repurpose it on other units?
Potentially, if we can do that with the box. That was the purpose, was to get a couple more years out of that unit with this new box that we put on it. So again, we evaluate each unit individually and see what we can do, either repurposing them or do we need to is it time to get rid of them? Is how we evaluate. And then we base it the priority based on the usage as well.
Yeah, I don't dispute obviously costs, these pieces of equipment are not cheap, and I get that. I just wasn't too sure about how many we had, and obviously I understand when there's the expectation of our level of standard of snow removal. I understand we've got to have the equipment to perform the tasks. I understand that, so thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the next one, which is a gravel truck box replacement. So this unit, our current unit is a 58 gravel truck. It's a 2008 International gravel truck with 112,000 kilometers on it. It's used primarily to haul gravel, dirt, and snow. The current box is from 1999, and it's in very bad shape, making it very hard to pass the safety inspection required for it. The full unit is not scheduled for replacement until 2030, and repairs and maintenance cost for this unit is currently sitting at approximately $60,000, and the budget price for a new box is $40,000, and the entire 40 is expected to come out of the fleet capital reserve. Okay, we'll move on. So the next project is the skid steer box blade. The skid steer box blade would be utilized by the Public Works Department, and primary use would be maintenance of the gravel lanes, which is currently completed by either the front end loader or the grader. And the budget price for this is $10,000, coming out of the fleet reserve.
So I'm curious, Director Vickers and Director Kennedy, if, I guess going back to Dr. Hill, Councillor Hill's comments. Yeah, not yet. Next year.
How do you know I'm working on it?
I heard you were. You know, I guess like a fleet inventory and kind of looking out over the next few years and replacement. And, you know, we've replaced a lot of fleet the last 2 or 3 years, and we're doing like, you know, $1 million+ this year, and what that looks like going forward. And I guess my other question I've asked before, and maybe the answer is no, because we tend to keep some of these vehicles a long time, but, you know, what are the options as far as leasing versus purchasing when we're putting funds into a depreciated asset as soon as we get it? Are there better ways to fund those? And
Mayor Buckley, we did talk through the operating budget that we were going to be doing a leasing versus purchase kind of review of our mower. So we're going to be starting that kind of procedure and discussions next year. We have had some discussions about also looking into what that would look like for the fleet, what that cost difference would be, and see what would be the most economical.
sure, I mean, there's an opportunity cost, right? To every dollar you put into something, you can't put it into something else. And I see in like municipal world, there's a company that's advertising like 0% over 5 years, and so if there's things like that we can take advantage of. I realize if you're keeping something 20 years, it doesn't make sense, but
Yeah, we have to look at the maintenance cost, what would be our responsibility under a lease, and what wouldn't be, what would the cost be when we send a lease back, or is that when we're purchasing it? And then if we purchase it, do we still have a resale cost at the end of the day? So we have to kind of look at the whole picture and bring.
And I think we focus so much on big things like the aquatic center and the arena, but you know, this is part of our state of infrastructure too, right? And that fleet, and I think there was 200 items in our fleet or something, so I can't remember what the numbers were, Director Kennedy, but I think it's something that, you know, maybe educate us a little bit better on, so we know going forward, and because it's, and is there opportunities to buy used at all on some of this stuff, and maybe not, I don't know, but Councillor Heistab?
Yeah, Your Worship, I was just curious how old the skid steer would be. You know, seeing that we have the ages of everything that's coming through, is this one good for another 15 years or 5 years? Just, it helps me understand, you know, the fleet, and there's a lot of moving parts with our equipment, so thanks.
Yep, Councilor, I said, so this is just an attachment. The existing skid steer, they would actually be on 2 different skid steers, the attachment. So this purchase is mainly just for that box blade. What we're finding within our back lanes, it's becoming challenging in some areas, especially for our grader, due to the size of the grader. So then a lot of the work gets done with the front end loader. This would be an attachment that just, again, improves our service with our back lanes, and then also makes it quicker to maintain.
Okay, we'll move on to the next item, which is curling rink finishes. So we are looking to replace the lounge flooring, painting of the basement level, and change room and bathroom vanities, as well as adding some exterior building sealant. So the cost for that, and we have had an update since this sheet has come in, so the price is actually a little bit lower. Instead of $110,000, it's actually only $92,000 for a total project cost. And so the floor finishes is sitting at 50, painting and drywall repairs is at 25. The vanities is 15, but the building sealant came in not at 20,000, only at 2,000 though, so that's where kind of that change comes from. So we are looking to invest $92,000 into the curling rink this year to come out of the infrastructure capital maintenance reserve. Okay, is there any questions on that one? Okay, we'll move on to the recreation, culture, and open space kind of master plan. So the proposed project will develop an updated recreation and open space master plan to replace the existing 2010 plan. The update will integrate key findings and recommendations from the 2019 Recreation, Culture, and Leisure Assessment to ensure alignment with current community needs, recreation trends, as well as population growth. So some of the key objectives are assessing existing parks, trails, and recreation facilities, identifying current and future community needs, guiding land acquisition, facility development, and maintenance priorities, promoting equitable access to recreational opportunities, integrating environmental sustainability and climate resilience, and enhancing community health, wellness, and social connections. Upon completion, the Recreation and Open Space Master Plan will provide a clear vision of strategy for recreation and open space investment, support funding and grant opportunities by documenting community needs and priorities, as well as foster partnerships to maximize resources and service delivery. So the cost for this is $200,000 and is coming out of the infrastructure capital reserve.
Just as an added note for council as well, so currently our 10-year capital plan only addresses the upgrade and maintenance of our current facilities. There's no identification of future facilities or future needs or what those facilities might be. So that is a component of this plan, and sort of building on that 2019 plan we did, this will include the spatial component, where that plan sort of talked about, these are areas where we could have more service or less service. It didn't really talk about where. So, if we do need more playfields, where are we going to put them, those types of things.
Yeah, I think that this is really important to do. The 2010, we're 15 years, and you take 20 years out, what will the community look like and the population growth, and where is everything going to fit, and the things that people want, whether it's outdoor or indoor, and yeah, I think it's very important. Councillor Wing?
Yeah, Mayor Barclay, I would agree with you. I think given the funding environment relative to provincial partners who would have been very much at the table back when the last plan was written has changed, and so I think something that we can start to chew on relative to those partnerships, community involvement, fund development, sponsorships, all of those things. This is the perfect time for us to do that.
Okay, we'll move on to the last slide that's in the binder, and that is for some arena unit heaters. So we are looking to replace 8 of our fuel-fired unit heaters. They are from 1990, so this is just due to life cycle replacement, but 2 of the units that we have are not working properly at all, so it is increased need to get these purchased. They are $8,000 each, so the total project comes in at $70,000. Funded by the Infrastructure Capital Reserve.
Just as note, since this was done, there's actually 3 that aren't working. Okay, so only 1 of the 4 on the red ice surface are currently working. So we have actually moved forward with the purchase of those because it's about a 6-week lead time to get the units, and they do need to be replaced.
Well, I could say I remember when, but there were no heaters.
I think it's I think this is a good one. I think we've had some issues with heat since 1990. But no, we could take over the name the Igloo. No, this is good. Thank you.
So there is really only one project that kind of came in after this was done, and that was the CPKC kind of project request. So we're still in the middle of kind of working through that, and once we kind of have some finalized information, we'll be coming to council for discussion on that item as well.
Should it be added in though? Like, it's not on a wish list.
Yeah, no, it's not on the wish list. It will
So
definitely.
the must-do list, so.
When it comes to you on the 9th,
Okay.
or on the 8th for passing, it will be attached to this list. So we'll, as soon as we know anything else, we'll make sure we get that all in there.
Okay,
on the
and
list.
like looking at it right now, Director Vickers, the funding would come from,
From reserve, infrastructure capital reserve.
Okay.
Yeah.
Councillor Hystad.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Barkley. Question about I should have asked during the surface. I wrote a couple notes just for a couple items. I wrote some notes. But I'm gonna discard the notes. I don't have a big briefcase like Donnie. But no, I think my question would be, this comes up, Woodland Road. I know that, are we looking at Woodland Road, surfacing that around the condo unit? I think that was on the radar a few years ago, and then it wasn't, and I just wanted an update on that. And then the question about the Dodds Lake, the surface itself, you'd said it wouldn't be paved, it would be just a hard surface, and then do we pave it a couple of years later or a year later? Those are my notes that I had taken.
Woodland Road really isn't on the radar for paving. It really is development. We've been kind of holding off with development. If we get some development going there, that would be part of, in collaboration with development, we would look at upgrading it. In regards to Dodds Lake, it'd be gravel to start.
Yeah.
And then we would reassess and kind of go from there.
Okay, no, those are the questions. And the reason why I'm bringing up the Woodland Road, there's that condo there. And I do hear the odd complaint about dust and, being an issue. And that's where, I think we have probably 30, 40 units in there. And that does come up every once in a while with individuals. So, I get it. There's only so much money, but, there is, and I understand that future development as well, but that is, one that I keep on hearing, every couple, during the year, a couple times during the year from residents.
I hear about it too from a different resident.
So,
As Todd knows. knows.
So that's, that's where I want to, we got a lot of requests, and I just thought I'd bring that up. Thanks so much.
So, Director Vickers mentioned the federal government announced a new, I forget the name now, the Community Strong Building Fund or something in their most recent budget. And a few $1 billion that can be used for recreation, water, wastewater, all sorts of things. So,
Mayor Barkley, we'll exhaust all
Okay.
options for grant funding.
Yeah.
However, these grants we would apply, and if we were successful, then we would reduce the
for sure.
reduce the pull from reserves.
Just want to make sure that we're aware of that because it is brand new and.
Yep, no, we'll definitely do some research into that grant and make as many applications as we are able to. Yep.
Question? Sorry, just as it popped into my mind, relative to the Dodds Lake remediation. So how long will that project take? And will there be still access to the water while that project is being undertaken? Or will the fishermen not be able to catch carp this year?
I see it only taking the one season, so next summer. We will maintain access as long as we can because it is it's up on where the green space is. That's where the focus of the contamination is, so that'll happen while they'll still maintain access to the lake.
So probably no stocking of fish this year either, then that would be a group that needs to be chatted with.
Depends on the timing and the coordination of it. Yep.
Is there any other comments or questions about any of the other projects? Okay. Okay, we can move on to the reserve kind of tab. If you keep going past to the last couple ones, we can talk about reserves. So the next slide just does have kind of our reserve balance. So on this slide, you see kind of one tab. This is our prior budgetary committed. So what this is these are our dollars from 2025. We don't know what those dollars are going to be yet, so we do have to kind of pre-identify that we're going to pull the budgeted amount out of reserves. Then we have our additions and our projects with our projected year-end balance kind of sitting right around that $12 million. One sheet that I did do, Juanita, and I added it as an Excel document in that tab, and it's called just Reserve Investment from 25 to 2030, just so we can see the reserve investment from the budget from last year and how the increase happened from 2026. So we just have all of our, and I will say that I didn't include any of those weird reserves that net to zero, aren't tax funded, or that, like the offsite levies, I just didn't include those. These are the only ones that are fully tax supported reserve investments from the operating budget. So you can see in 2025, that total number was right over $1.9 million. And in 2026, we are asking for that increase of 487, and it's kind of down by those. So you can see the top one, we're looking for an extra 193 for the Aquatic Center debenture investment debt payment. Then we see the second one, we're bumping that up to that $400,000. So basically an investment of $200,000. Under the fire hall, we did request for that extra $25,000 to the fleet reserve. And then we also see an extra 50 from parks, and then an extra 20 to the fleet reserve from facilities. So we are looking for an increase in our reserves from the operating tax supported budget of $487,000. And then I did show the future years out because we do see a couple of increases going forward. In 2027, you can see the Aquatic Center does kind of cap out at that 967. The next line for that infrastructure, capital maintenance and repair, we do see that going up by $200,000 a year. We will be maintaining that until we get to 1.6, which then we'll have to reevaluate and likely readjust kind of what those numbers look like. We do see in 2027 for parks, we asked for up to 40,000 this year, and we are increasing it to 430 next year. Sorry, and also fire hall, it went from 100 to 125, and then we are upping that to 150 in 2027 as well.
Mayor Barkley to Director Vickers, just if we were successful in some of our grant applications for the Aquatic Center, this would have a significant impact on this, would it not?
Yes, it definitely could. And once we know what those grants look like and we know we're eligible, we'll be coming back to council for some recommendations on what to do with those dollars, right? Either we lower it, we keep it the same, we move it to another project. We are going to be talking about the 10-year capital plan, so we'll kind of see kind of what's coming up in the future as well. Is there any concerns? Do we want to go back to those increases in reserve investments?
So, Director Vickers, the debenture payment at 967, that's maxed out. That's the 12.5.
Yes. And by 2027, if we have to use that line of credit, it will be maxed out. If we are unsuccessful in any of our grants, we will have expended most of the expenses by the end of 2026.
So, let's say worst case scenario, I mean, we're doing interest only on that.
So it's a line of credit, so we can just pay the interest, or we can pay.
But at some point in time, you need to pay the principal. You can't not do that. So I guess do we need to know what that possibly looks like?
What the payment amount is?
Well, with the payment, principal payment as well at some point in time, like if we exhaust everything that we can do to get grant funding and we don't get any.
Yeah, so interest only would be, so the 967 would be the full payment, paying some interest as well as some down of the principal. So you're wanting to know what the interest only payment would be?
No, I'm wondering on the aquatic center debenture, so that 967 is interest and principal? It's
Yes, so
P&I?
that is paying down that payment a little bit
Okay,
as
so
well.
over 10 years?
No, that
or
would be over like 25
20
years.
years, 25 years, okay. Okay, I don't know if you can, if
So-
you have a payment schedule to,
Okay.
on another document somewhere, just so that we understand that fully. That's probably what worries me,
Yes,
especially when, we're thinking about the arena as well, which isn't very far away.
Yeah, unlike the Southwest
Yeah.
Industrial Land payment, they haven't provided us a schedule because we have no debt yet to it, right?
No,
So-
but I'm assuming that you would have in your mind like a schedule of what we should be doing.
Yeah. We'll bring that for sure. Okay. Is there any other comments or questions? Other than that, we can pull up the 10-year capital plan potentially. So Juanita, that is a PDF document that I put in there as well, yeah. Stephen, I'll have you talk to.
You want me to talk?
Yeah, I want. So yeah, what we have before you here is just kind of our 10-year capital plan. We have updated it kind of to include the 2026 information, and we will be updating this based on any final decisions on transfers to reserves or capital projects. This will come before you at the same day you pass the budget, just kind of for formal approval of what this is. However, this will be a living document that does change, can change many times throughout the year, but just we will have you kind of approve it as a point in time as of the budget that this is what the current 10-year capital plan is. And then I will have Director Kennedy kind of talk us through it.
Sure. I guess we tried to create a plan for you guys to show how the reserve balances flow with the capital investment, using our target from our State of Infrastructure report, of using that, $2 million for linear infrastructure, as well as then the based assessments on our facilities and how that looks. So last year was the first year we were able to include all of the facilities based on their BSIs, which then did flag in 2029 significant investment in the arena, as well as a few other buildings. So it became very useful for us as a tool for that 10-year projection to show how our reserves deplete or are insufficient in order for us to do that capital investment for just doing maintenance, repair and maintenance within our facilities. As well, in this project, we've been tracking over the last 6 years probably, miscellaneous projects that just have been brought up, just so we don't lose sight of conversations that previous councils have had in regards to projects that have been flagged as of not really required, but if we have surplus or if we have additional dollars, these are some projects that have been discussed in the past. So there's a list there of a number of projects, ranging from the parking lot to some cemetery infill, the dog park, the recreational master plan, Hazelwood School site, the arena dressing room expansion, multipurpose dome, Dodds Lake Phase 1, the bike park. There's been no ask really for that one, but we've put it on there as just a project. And then we've included the two projects, Aspen Heights, Lakewood Drive pedestrian crossing, $30,000, as well as the Lakewood Drive upgrade or trail upgrade, $250,000. And that's really from the ski hill tying into Hazelwood Drive, the sidewalk at Hazelwood Drive there. So a short portion of trail upgrade for that.
Mayor Barclay?
Yes.
This list you have there, I think, will probably be updated, replaced, changed based on that rec and open space master plan that is part of this year's budget. Is that correct?
That's correct.
This is sort of like a wish list that previous council or administration has put on there, but
Yeah,
Yes.
you can see that
Yeah.
there are 3 of these items that we have actually put into the budget. So the first item, the feasibility study for the arena, we are earmarking that next year in anticipation of that larger project coming up in 29 and 30. And then the 2 that we have moved to the budget for this year is the Dodds Lake parking lot, partially due to the remediation and the leakage. We need to
Right.
make sure that it's not getting into the water system. And then the rec and open space master plan, which then will kind of outline a lot of our priorities or what should be our priorities for the next number of years, right?
so right now, that's not based on any plan or study, that's just based on some,
These on this list are just based on conversations that council administrative has had in the past about things to kind of keep an eye on and look for, and if things come up or special grants come up, that we can then seriously look at some of these items, right?
And there's also, Councillor, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, CEO Becker.
I was just going to say to that question there, the bottom 2, Aspen Heights and Lakewood Drive Trail, though they are identified in the trail master plan at some point, whether it's priority or secondary, but it's still identified in those plans.
And I would also add to that the pedestrian safety review we did as well this past year. So it identified there was certain areas of town that were studied and prioritized, but I think over a 3 to 5 year period, was it, Director Kennedy, really? So I think tying that into the rec study and the trail master plan and the pedestrian safety review would give us some really good information to a path forward. We all have our wish lists, of course, but
Yeah.
they're not necessarily founded in.
The Hazelwood school site too will come up in conversation through administration, just based on those conversations with the school divisions, what that future school site means, and anticipation when we'd be required to move into that investment.
I think as well, Director Jenkins, maybe you could fill new councillors in too. We've talked many times about another access out of Hazelwood when the time comes and where that goes and.
Yeah, so again, the school site and access road, again, kind of gets tied into pace of development and those considerations as to the timing of when either school division indicates they would need that school site, but we would need a year plus at least if in advance of getting that site ready. The Hazelwood residential development area can do one additional phase before they will be required to have some other access into that subdivision, largely for emergency purposes in terms of the number of dwelling units and the ability to get in and out. So that would be looking at a roadway out to C&E Trail, sort of at the north. Again, ties in with that school site and timing. So this has been, like, I think that 3.5 million that's earmarked is based on a 2019 estimate when at that point there was potential that Hazelwood was moving forward. So again, we kind of throttle that one with respect to the demands either from the school division or that development area.
in regards to school sites, I know the government is moving towards they're taking ownership of the land, no longer owned by school divisions for new school builds. So have you talked with the government about their involvement if they're going to be owning the land? Has there been any word of any type of funding to flow with that? Because they're basically asking the municipality to buy it or get the developer to have it as part of their development plan, and then you just turn it over to the province. So.
Correct. So most of the information that has come out with respect to, I don't remember what the bill number is that results in the change. There haven't been a lot of details. I'm hoping to see a few others that have a bit more imminent school sites, how those processes move forward. based on some of the webinars and such that I've listened to, there hasn't been an indication that the province would be supporting, particularly in areas where municipalities have had to actually pre-purchase land. It's not achieved through required dedications for reserves.
I do recall a comment, I think it was at a past AB Munis conference, when they were doing their minister panel, and one of them did indicate that there'd be no money for roads when it comes to school sites, that they can't begin to fund that because they're already building the school, kind of comment is what they had indicated. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to channel Councillor Bates for a minute. We know we have an outstanding lift station somewhere down in the south as well, in that Hereford Acres Woodlands area, and it's not on the list, so I wonder if that $1 million should be there somewhere.
Again, at this point, that development should pay for said lift station. That has been, that's currently the position. There was arrangements made, 2015 or previous, with the town potentially front-ending a Woodlands lift station. But that kind of ties into this, the area structure plan update, because if it isn't the Laban land area that goes first, that creation of one single large lift station may not be the most logical way to service that area. So again, that's kind of developer dependent, and when they show up and what their timelines are.
So just one further question, since we brought Laban up. Currently then, that structure plan on that Laban land is the existing one that was approved back in 2014 or 15.
Correct.
So at this time, we're still only anticipating single entry from the east and not to the north?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, so Laban came forward during council's last term, looking for an amendment to their plan that would allow access to the north, what is that, 37A Street, where I don't know, it's hard to explain if you don't know the neighborhood. We could put a map up for folks. That was not approved by council, so the existing area structure plan, the original going back, remains in place, so all access to that development area comes off of Woodland Road.
And I also, CEO Becker, I believe you're also sending projects into Alberta Transportation as well, or whatever you can to see what comes out of that with potential funding changes, eligibility changes through Alberta Transportation.
Yeah. Correct, Mayor Barkley. We do have a good rapport with the agencies. And that information is going to the Central Alberta office here this week.
Do you want to take a break, Director Vickers, for 15 minutes?
Sounds good.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
They've only got a book till 11, so they'll probably leave.
You go ahead.
Are you up?
Yep. Well, just,
Go now.
we're done now.
Pardon?
We're done.
Yeah.
Would they like to talk?
Yeah, that's it. So,
Okay.
Another pretty face. In case.
We can pick up audio now,
Yeah. Hey, council, steer you back in if you can. Let's put it back to the director to pose the question of where do you want to go?
okay, so ultimately, council, outside, there is one more slide technically, and really it's just a look as to our reserve history based on budget and just kind of where those numbers kind of sit each year. There we go. So just kind of that balance, and again, this is as per budget, so just what we budgeted in and out for each year. So we've kind of always sit and hover in around this 11 to 14 kind of $1 million balance in our reserves. So other than that, council, kind of our presentation is kind of completed. We open the floor up to have any conversation, go back to look at any of the capital projects. Would you like any more information on any of them before you're able to make any decisions or things like that? So I'll just open it up for now, right at that.
Okay, I have a chipper question.
Okay.
So, curious, like the mulch, we give it away to residents that we have?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, and then people can take their trees and bushes there for free, correct? Okay, I guess I'm just, as we're, kind of feeling financial pressures, I guess I'm just curious about that service and if there would be alternatives other than doing that and having people either hire their own people to grind up their own trees or
Just wonder, maybe to help with your question, maybe is there, what happens to the trees if they're not mulched, if they're hauled away?
They're hauled away, yeah.
So is there a cost factor?
Every year we budget $10,000 for that. So what we do with them right now is, we used to have a burn pit. So we used to put them in the burn pit, and that didn't go well. Every year we
maybe Director Leith has a report on that.
about the smoke from the burning and stuff like that. So that never went well. So we fill that in, and now we pile the branches that get brought in. It is a free service that we take. And then what we do is we bring Howells in. Howells then hauls it to their pit out of town at a cost. This year, what we've been doing was we actually moved them so that, because there's so much, we've moved it over to the town yard. And then we try and chip them as best we can with the small chip. We were just finding we can't keep up. We can't chip them enough. We can't mulch it fast enough. So we're falling behind. This will get us to where we can catch up. In regards to our transfer site, you were asking previously yesterday in regards to the volumes that we track, not only on solid waste. We'll also provide you with some information on the fees as well. What do we make in the transfer site? Right now it's a free service. What else do we provide free? We'll provide you with an update on that. Is that something we want to start charging for? It's a great question.
Councillor Hill?
Yeah, just definitely, I don't like to try to tell anyone how to do anything or micromanage or even ask questions that potentially are offside, but is there, now that you have potentially more room for stockpiling, I understand, like, obviously there's always going to be, if we look at for the call to service for a chipper, it's obviously storms are going to be a big contributor to the amount of trees that would be coming into the transfer site, or spring or fall trimmings, right? So I guess my question is would there be a way, instead of sitting on an $80,000 chipper, would there be a way that if we were to say, hey, let's stockpile, which is already kind of happening, because I'm sure that the chipping isn't a crazy priority if it kind of just gets done when there would be time allotted. Would it be an opportunity to potentially rent a chipper for, let's say a week, and chip instead of doing the haul out? I understand we're trying to, find an efficiency there, but if a chipper was, I believe it's about $2,500 a week, and see, if you had, and you can get quite a bit done from my experience. If we were to kind of pick a time that it got stockpiled, and I understand we don't want to have a huge stockpile that becomes a fire hazard, and I can understand there's the logistics of that, but if there's also a year that we don't have a whole lot to chip, maybe, now we're not sitting on something that's $80,000 that we're looking, insuring and maintaining and all that kind of stuff, and if we do still have one that maybe is doing the job for the smaller stuff, for the mobile cleanups, I just think there might be a way to postpone a purchase of this size if there is a logistical way of doing it. It's just a recommendation or question to see if that might be a possibility.
Councillor Hill, so we did look at renting potentially as an option. Challenge that we saw in doing that, it's definitely doable. It's just the resources then, because then we're pulling those resources off something else in order for them to dedicate. Because obviously, if we're going to rent a unit, we need to dedicate 8 hours a day to maximize the use of that rental. So we looked at that as well. It's definitely an option. So we looked at it as more of something that we can do throughout the year. There's periods of time when we have availability and resources, not only within the Parks Department, but within the Public Works Department as well. So this opened that availability to be able to do that when we have availability and resources, and maximize what we're doing. Right now with the smaller unit, it just does not keep up. It doesn't do a big enough tree either. It's very small. Yeah. Now you're sorting it and everything. Yep. So there's definitely challenges, but pros to doing it too. To renting is definitely an option as well.
Or is there an opportunity, Director Kennedy, just to take it out to Howells as opposed to doing it at all, or do you find it beneficial for the town to be doing this?
Again, based on availability, we do haul out there as well. So that budget is for for contractor costs, not specifically Howells. So that when we don't have the resources to be able to haul it out there, we then contract that out. But we do throughout the year haul as well. So that does happen as well.
Yeah, I guess I'll just go back and have us think about, leave it in your hands, but, whether that should be a free service, because it is a cost to the tax base to provide that service.
One last question to Director Kennedy. As I understand, burn permits and finding eligible places that you can actually take to a burn pit is pretty restrictive. I can understand that as well. And is Howells really the most, obviously Howells is just proximity-wise is closest. Is there any other place that does have a burn pit that would be feasible to actually take to, or that we're pretty well restricted just to that option at this time?
That I don't have an answer for that. It's just that's where we've been taking it in the last couple of years. I don't know if the Public Works Department actually researched anywhere else available. That's just who we've been using.
Yeah, accessibility. It's right off the pavement. I'm sure. I just wasn't sure if there was, obviously a way to try to maybe if we went an avenue of just saying, hey, we want to exclusively be able to use you guys, and maybe there'd be a preferred rate, and maybe that's already been discussed, but to drive down the, because then if you could just take everything out there and there's no need for labor or risk or safety of running a chipper, and because that's obviously this is can be a very dangerous unit as well. And then you don't have any resources tied up, because the value of the mulch or what the product is really, yeah, it's nice to give some free, and I'm not opposed to that, but it's not really a great quality product that's going to be on the coming out the chute of these chippers. So it's one of those things that if a person were to maybe try to maybe more of a contracted thing, that everything goes there and we can drive the price down a bit and not need this. I'm just trying to brainstorm, that's all.
Yep, no, that's fair to Councillor Hill. We also do utilize the mulch as well internally, so Braden, our horticulturist, does utilize it within our plant beds and within our trees as well.
Okay, Mayor and Council, what other questions around capital would you like to discuss? Any of the reserve investments? Okay. So really, where would you like to go to now? We can go back and talk about operating. We have been kind of requested to kind of make some changes and come back to council with some updated options around bringing that 1.59% down to around zero and only kind of using assessment growth. We do have an item that we do have to bring back in that was on the unfunded list. So that's, is there any other guidance that council may have for the operating kind of conversation?
Councillor Russell.
So you're also going to consider the increase to user fees for that we talked about in some of those? I know it's not a huge revenue, but every little bit helps. It would probably offset what we've moved in.
Yeah, so we've been kind of keeping a track of everything that we kind of talked about yesterday about some of the changes. So we want to go back and kind of incorporate those numbers and kind of bring you back some options. And if we still do need some kind of tax dollars, then we'd likely maybe put some options for franchise fees as well. So tax or franchise fees, kind of seeing what that looks like.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. I guess, yeah, I think we're at the point where, talking about what we would prefer, and of course, probably everybody would like to see that mill rate drop. We know that, capital is what capital is, and we don't have a lot of control over the assessments. So to be able to come back to the community with as close to zero from a mill rate increase as possible is certainly where my brain is right at the moment.
Yeah, I would agree with Councillor Wing. I thought the process was good the last day and a half. I thought there was a lot to discuss. And so I guess to Director Vickers, do you anticipate coming back to us later today or on Friday? Like that's where I...
So that's the question to you guys. We will need some time to go away and do some changes. We still do have lunch coming today. Yep. If we were to leave now, and let administration kind of go back and do some wording and work and potentially bring back at lunchtime some numbers. I don't want to overspeak for the CAO.
I think it's fair. We can do our best at this given time until lunch, and then if we need a few minutes after lunch into that 1 o'clock, we can certainly report back at that given time. Yeah, we just need a little bit of time to have this conversation, see what we can achieve in a couple hours.
Sure. How about we break now, we'll have our lunch at noon and then have you report at 1:30? Does that give you enough time? And
yeah, that works.
Okay. Yeah, people can come back at noon. Yeah. Okay, is that good with you?
That sounds great.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Council.